Who's one person that would break your heart if they got canceled?
Megan Thee Stallion.
Drake.
Eaton.
Okay, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, let's not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
I didn't even hear what you said.
Nah,
I said Drake.
Oh, Drake.
Yeah.
I feel like
He's been canceled before.
I feel like people try to cancel.
He's been
him here and
canceled
there,
before?
but-
That's just like the first thing that came to my mind.
You know,
Well,
nobody gets canceled permanently.
well,
anymore.
he almost got canceled the one time Pusha T came out with a diss track and he had like the blackface on.
Oh
Remember?
yeah, that was like, oh shit, is this the end of
But he
Drake?
explained that real quick.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
and Millie Bobby Brown, like, so many people were talking about that.
Oh
He
my
About
god.
underage girls.
explained that and didn't explain his son right away.
Oh yeah, that was like a meme. It was like,
So
Who's Eaton?
Eaton from
Yo, I would be sad.
who's eating?
You know him, Sha-AMEER?
Yeah.
Yo, okay. Eaton is the he goes on TikTok and he goes, "What's going on, guys? It's your favorite white boy, aka Gora, Eaton." And then he's like the Desi gang's favorite white boy, and he makes like all these Desi dishes. He's like a little Jewish boy, and he's like he's full of energy. He's like awesome, but I like him a lot. If he got canceled, I'd be really upset.
Yeah.
Damn.
There was like a TikTok. He was like talking about roti. And he was like, yeah, I just made roti. And he was like, sorry guys, roti.
No. He didn't even say roti. He goes roti. he rolled that thing so hard.
Dude,
It was crazy.
I gotta be put
So
on
he's just
him.
spawned a brown culture. Okay, true.
Well, no, not just that, but like he actually will like interact with people and wants to like get to know it more. If you saw him, you'd be like, all right, like he's a cute little kid. He's just like, it's awesome.
Oh,
Meg
dude,
just-
wait. You know who I'd be mad if they got canceled? The dude that reviews like Pakistani food. You know what I'm talking about? The guy on YouTube that has like millions of views. He like goes around the world. He has like these big eyes.
I have
You know
no
what I'm talking
idea.
about?
There's like
I don't know.
there's
I
so
know
many
who you're
people doing
talking
that
about.
now.
I know who you're talking about.
All right, I gotta send you the vid. Dude's amazing.
Shami? Logic?
I said Logic. I mean, he's almost been canceled many times before.
Right.
He's
But
canceled
if-
in hip hop by like the biggest
Yeah.
like, commentators already.
But like, if his own fans like canceled him, then I don't know. I'd be like, damn. But I mean, I probably had the worst answer out of all you guys.
I mean, I would say that everybody else is going to agree that mine is the worst answer. I
No,
said
no.
Megan Thee Stallion just
I mean-
because
she's
so
already canceled for
carefree.
me.
She's already.
What? No. The reason, listen, Megan Thee Stallion's so carefree and so unproblematic and so like living her life, being the hot girl. Like I don't like. There's nothing like negative attached to her yet. Like the only thing they could find is that her GPA is like a 2.8 or something in college, and like they ran with that. But she's still in
real?
college.
What the heck?
So like,
It's not even a big deal.
she's in college still doing everything she's doing. So like, whatever.
what?
Insane.
Really?
She's in college right
Yeah,
now.
she's
Yeah.
she's studying to be a
what?
nurse, right?
I don't know exactly what her major is.
I remember she was on
but-
the Breakfast Club talking about like she wants to still finish school and everything, and it's like a big thing for her grandma or mom or something. I forget. But real quick, Sha-AMEER, before you roll the intro, I wanted to ask this because I saw this on I saw a clip of Jimmy Fallon yesterday, and he had RuPaul on his show. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen this clip, but RuPaul goes, Jimmy Fallon goes, "Congratulations, the first diva." Something like that. He said, first, what's the thing that they say with diva?
Hustler.
No,
Diva
I'm forgetting
is
what
the
the thing was, but he said like diva, whatever. And then, and you know how Jimmy Fallon's like always super with the lovey-dovey with the guests and stuff. So RuPaul is like diva, and then Jimmy Fallon's like, oh God. And then he said, I'm the queen. Oh, diva queen or queen diva queen?
Uh-huh.
I'm forgetting what it's called, but he's like, I'm the queen of divas or something. And then Jimmy Fallon was like, oh God. Like, and then the next episode he came back and he was like, I thought I was going to get canceled. And it's just crazy to me that like people have to consider that nowadays. Like I might get canceled off of this little tiny mistake that I made or something of like how to title people or whatever.
I'm trying to think though, like who has been canceled in the past and actually like
Stayed
been
canceled?
affected from like stayed canceled, because it seems like if you get canceled, it's almost a good thing because you get so much popularity, and then when you come back with something positive, then it's like, oh my god,
Bill
like
Cosby.
6ix9ine.
It seemed like Kathy
Kevin
Griffin
Spacey.
was going to be that. Oh, there you go.
Charlie Sheen, kind of, but he still has a fan base.
Yeah, I thought
it's
Kathy
interesting.
Griffin was, and then I feel like she got like it was a little bit easy on her after, like, I don't know. This is YouTube world.
Anybody
but when
in
Shane
the
Dawson
Me
did.
Too movement, a lot of those people that like
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein, like there's no recovery for that. A lot of people like that, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
It's
All right.
over.
Thank you
Like
guys for
crying.
tuning into an episode of Strange Flavors. This is the strangest and greatest podcast in the game. My name is Shimmer.
I'm for us.
My
I'm
name is
sorry.
Amber.
Oh, I went before. My bad.
No, you're good.
It's okay.
As a special co-host today, we have Isaac, who has been on the podcast before. We interviewed him. He's has the brand Mercy X Mankind. He's a good friend of ours, so we're excited for him to join us and talk about a few things today.
Facts. This is brought to you by Alif Theory. You can find us on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can listen to us on this podcast, Apple Podcast app, SoundCloud, Spotify, anywhere you listen to your podcast. And the visual aspect, where you can see my wonderful background, you can see Isaac's beautiful face. You can see this on YouTube. If you have cool questions or anything you want to discuss with us, or you want to send your music or your friend's music, you can email us at strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com.
Yo, shout out you guys, because last time we said come through on the YouTube, leave some comments, join the conversation, and you did, and we appreciate that, and we love you for
Wow.
that.
It's because of my background.
It was because so there was someone that also said that I listened to the podcast on audio, and then I come on YouTube to watch it again.
Yeah.
So
That's
that is
dedication.
that's love
Dedication.
right there.
Yeah,
And we
right.
That's
appreciate
dedication, and that's also quarantine, but also
Yeah.
dedication.
that, for sure.
We're gonna improve our effort to make the video aspect much better, and my
Yeah.
backgrounds are a part of that.
There it is.
Yeah, so come watch it.
And last thing, if you want to support this podcast and you're listening on Anchor, you can actually go down and it says support this podcast, and however you'd like to contribute. I know people had asked before for things like Patreon and stuff, and we got those things getting set up too. But for right now, if you're listening on Anchor, or you want to head over to Anchor, you can always support this podcast with whatever.
OnlyFans coming soon. Just kidding.
No, canceled.
Yeah, and we'll find
Immediately.
a way to, if you donate or whatever, like shout you out or something
Yeah.
like that, just to, because it helps a lot.
For sure. We'll definitely, that's going to be in the works, but just wanted to put that out there for right now. But yeah, Isaac, let's start off with you, man. Like, how is life right now? I mean, with the quarantine situation, and now you're in Ramadan, we know that you have this brand to take care of. So what's it been like to deal with all those things?
Man, I wish I could say that it's been like exhilarating and I've been working super hard, and it's like that's just not the truth.
Yeah.
It's been hard, but it's like, and I've said this before, I think it's like up and down. Some days I'll wake up and I'll be like, I'm ready to work, and like I'm so happy because I'm able to do things that I've put off for so long that I needed to do, but I just didn't want to. And then other days I wake up and I'm like, I hate this shit. Like I can't take it anymore. I need to go outside and do something. But in terms of the brand, it's hard keeping up because, we're not a huge corporation brand. Like I myself am the founder, and we have like a really small team in Brooklyn, and everybody actually, funny enough, my team that was in Brooklyn, like on a daily basis almost, they all went home. So there was 2 people that had to go back to Florida. So they had to fly out to Florida because they couldn't even pay their rent. And then my main guy, Romero, who's in there with me every single day, he had to go back to Maryland. So, everyone is basically out. And the way I see it, it's like I'm just trying to do the best that I can. I started making the masks for people at the crib, trying to make some money here and there and also give back. Thinking of new collections and designs and just immersing myself in every creative aspect that I can by watching like a lot of anime and movies and trying to get some benefit out of it. But it's definitely hard. And then in terms of just like being in this during Ramadan, it just makes it harder because you're not able to have that coffee in the morning to jumpstart your day. So I find that I'm up until like 7 or 8 a.m. just working or
Same.
doing things. and then I go to sleep around then, and I wake up at like 5. You know what I mean? It's so bad, but
yeah,
it's just kind of is what it is.
It's interesting to hear that perspective, especially from a New Yorker, because it seems like from the outside, you know, and seeing your kind of day to day, sometimes you post on your Instagram and stuff of like, oh, now I'm at this shop, now I'm going to like this tailor, now I got to get this sewed up, and you're just like so reliant on each other as New Yorkers of like, you know, you got to get stuff done, and there's a place to do it, and
that New York grind.
That grind, and like you don't have the space to take care of everything on your own for the most part. So you know, I feel like the New York thing, once you know one piece of that puzzle is out, it's like everything you gotta kind of rearrange. But what's that process like? You know, what is your sort of day to day, and how are you making up for that?
So funny enough, like I remember the week before quarantine, we had just hired a new intern, a brown girl, and I specifically remember doing her interview, and I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I like your resume, but the main reason I'm hiring you is because you're brown, and I like that even better, and that you're in the creative field, because there's not a lot of us that are doing that. But I remember just a week before quarantine hit, like during the week where people were still like, it's nothing, you know, and then some people were like, I'm staying in the crib. Like I remember Mara, my fiance, was like, don't call me, I'm not coming out. She has been in her house for a month and a half. I haven't seen her because she will not come out for anything.
Is she like germophobic?
Yes.
She works in the field, right?
Oh yeah, she worked at a pain management clinic, and like she told me she was a stickler for every like hand sanitizer and this and that. She's crazy, but I admire her now because she kind of saw that coming. But I remember just the week before, we had set up so many different campaigns and things that we were doing to push this message forward of like have mercy, and like really, I don't want to say rebranding, but like expanding on the brand so that we could acquire a bigger target. And I remember that was so reliant on meeting new people and networking. So we had interviews set up, we were meeting new models. Like it was the most, that maybe 2 months was the most active we have been in terms of outreach. So I remember as soon as we found out that New York was shutting down, like everything stopped, you know, and it was like, oh damn, like what do we do now? Because I mean, we have the studio, but I mean, you can make stuff, and then you can't even go to the factory because the factory shut down. You can't go to the fabric store shut down. So we're in this studio and we're just talking about like random things. They're like, I don't know what's gonna open up, but making up for that has been, I don't know if I could say I could make up for it, but I definitely think that I've used the opportunity to expand. So like for a simple kind of example, my fabric sourcing was really kind of like weird because I'm depending on a lot of these middlemen New York stores who are acquiring
like the
fabric.
stores.
Yeah, exactly. And like they're great, but at the end of the day, they're selling fabric that's like closeout, which means that they don't stock the entire fabric. They maybe stock 50 yards or something. And once it's gone, it's gone. So I was having this huge problem in figuring out a reliable source that I could continue to go back to. Funny enough, I found that source in quarantine. And so like in my mind, I'm like, oh, like this is, I would have never done this unless I had the time to just sit here and think about things that need to be improved. So I think that's kind of my way of making it up, but yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. My dad actually like this morning for sahur, when we actually like eat before stopping eating and start our fast, he was talking about, he's just like, this today like with the coronavirus situation is not that crazy because we still have communication, which is like the main thing. Nice. And if it had been back in the day, it would have been way harder. And then my mom, like, she's a very innocent, sweet person. She's like, yeah, we would have probably like been sending letters with owls or something. Like,
so cute.
And then, so like, I was thinking about that, and you know, he was saying that like nobody's work really stopped. Like there are some jobs that like you're not able to physically go in, but for the most part, like people that are still need to get work done are finding other ways to get it done. And that made me think of like, okay, so if we can find a way to still function, like if this had lasted forever from now on, imagine that, we would be okay. You know what I mean? Like people would figure out, because we've already figured out how to do schooling and you know, work over Zoom and all that kind of stuff, and with technology. But the only thing that would really hurt us would be some sort of like EMP. Like imagine like internet is like taken over or something, or just everybody's internet is like their communication is shut down. That would be really crazy.
Yeah.
And like
I think long term, if you think about it, it's crazy that I think one of the biggest things that would be affected is like entertainment, because you can't put together a production. You can't have all these people in a room. Like these Netflix shows that we're probably recording are probably in halt. These movies that have millions and millions invested into it have to stop. And like a lot of people whose only income is like modeling and like acting and those types of things are very much on halt until this is all over. Absolutely. So I feel like everybody's like normal lives, like people who live like day-to-day jobs, like cookie cutter jobs, and even things that people have been doing like on their own for a while are okay. And then like this big industry that we look up to is like the one thing that from what I can tell, gonna take a big hit in the long term.
Maybe just acting and stuff, but music and all that like
it's thriving.
Except
for music videos.
I know it's all thriving. I'm saying that like acting, but think about like the directors, the videographers, the editor, like all those types of things. Of course you can do and like shift your vision and probably definitely expand your horizons in this time. I'm just thinking that like something that we value so big, like things that we are all right now like binge watching and like taking time to do, like that is like the thing that's on hold.
Have you seen The Circle on Netflix?
I have not.
My brother watches a show. It's called The Circle, and it's like it's a contest of people who sit in like by themselves in a room, and then you have to use social network to try to get liked, and like 2 people get voted out every single time, and you can fake your personality and your like images and everything, but the goal is to try to be likable enough to win the game, and you're just in a room by yourself, and you just like interact over the computer. But this came out before the corona. And it reminds me a little bit about like the way that, forgive me for my ignorance, I don't know if it's Japan or China, but like in one of those countries there's a lot of people that solely do like virtual dating and things like that, and they get Japan and then they buy like sex robots and things like that, and that's kind of easier for them and more convenient for them at times. And that kind of scares me, because human interaction is like something that you can't take for granted at all.
Facts.
True.
Speaking of Netflix. Sorry. Speaking of Netflix, Isak, you were on a Netflix show.
True.
And
I was.
Including all this fashion stuff. You were on the whole production, and you kind of got to see like the behind the scenes of that. Why don't you tell us about kind of how that was and the experience? And I know that you experienced some backlash afterwards, so share your experience a little bit.
Yeah. I guess just on a beginning note, I remember one thing about the Netflix thing. The production really changed my life, and this is something I don't talk about too often, which is like the show aside, seeing how they made the show was insane to me. Like I remember
What was the show called? If you could let the viewers know.
The show is called Next in Fashion, and the hosts are pretty popular people. Tan France, who's a Pakistani American. Oh no, Pakistani. He's from UK, right? He's British. I don't know.
He has an accent.
Yeah, he has an accent. Yeah, I thought about that. And then Alexa
background.
Chung. Yeah, Pakistani background. But yeah, it was called Next in Fashion. It's basically a competition series, the first fashion competition series ever on Netflix, and it is about 18 designers competing to win a $250,000 money prize, and then the winner also is able to create a collection for a very popular online e-commerce site called Net-a-Porter, which is a very like high-end luxury retailer that every designer wants to be on. So it was pretty intense kind of just being on that show. But just to start off that note about the production of a series was insane to witness. So even though I'm a creator at heart, like I love making clothes, but I have my passions in so many different levels. And I think that's one of the things that really separates me, is that I'm passionate about cinematography and photography and like lighting, like things that are very easily taken for granted that require a lot of detail. I'm very passionate about. So when I was on set, I remember, you know, you're able to walk around set and you're seeing how things are organized, and you're meeting the production crew and breakfast and dinner, and you're seeing all these different aspects of organization that you take for granted in a company's scale. So I remember even coming back from that show, my mind was like, okay, I got to take it up a notch. You know what I mean? Like, it was the same as when I did my first fashion show back in 2017. When I had witnessed how that production went, I came back and I was like, I can't stay on this level anymore. So there was the same thing with Netflix coming back. I was like, okay, like boom, like let's move on. But being on the show itself was very exciting and a beautiful experience, but also very hard. So because
I remember
you're surrounded,
you called me and you were kind of explaining the situation about like how unprepared you almost were for like the reality show aspect. You said that you were like, you were ready to do the fashion stuff, but you weren't ready for like what a reality show really takes. So talk about that a little bit. Yeah,
like, so when they had called us originally, like casted us, it was a couple of months of process, but they had told us, okay, you're going to come on the show and we're not going to do it like Project Runway. We're not trying to create drama. Like, this is really about the craft of you creating things. And so I was interested right away because I never was that reality TV type of person. So when we went on there, I had come in with an expectation of like, okay, like the focus is going to be to make me look as good as possible. And it's going to be to make me look as skillful and this and that.
You thought they were going to do that for you?
Yes, because that's kind of what that had been portrayed to us. And this is, I think, across every designer, if you were to interview, they would say the same thing. And there was many times where the designers, you know, we were staying in the same hotel and hanging out every night. So we had these conversations a lot. So when I had got there and when we got on the show, it was very evident from the get-go that this was a reality TV show. And as much focus as there was on skill and craft, there was definitely an element of wanting to create some sort of conflict between like you and your partner, or you and the designer, or you and or even
tell
you and the
some sort
judge.
of story.
Some sort of story. They had to build a narrative.
Would you say it's like equal to the amount going into the craft, or?
I think now looking back, I think that you know, spoiler alert, I was eliminated on that first episode, which is the worst thing to me. Well, worst thing to me when I first kind of got eliminated. But when I look back at the show and I rewatch some of the other episodes, I really do see that they did focus on the craft a lot more. But I think that first episode that I'm on, they had to kind of pull you into the show.
Right.
So they had to have a scapegoat to be
villain.
like a villain. Like, hey, you want to watch this show? Like, look at all this drama.
Well, they told that story really well. Like, as if I look at it from a viewer's perspective and not as your friend, like they executed it exactly how I would expect to. Like they want the audience to understand why this person deserves to go home. Almost, that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And that was hard to watch in a way, because it was like, wait, that's not who this guy is. What's going on with your lights, bro?
I'm sorry, my mom is calling. Yes. Okay, Lafis, love you.
Aww.
I'm in a basement, so like she has to turn the light. She's like from the top of the stairs. Like, stop.
That's how she talks to you, Morse code.
Yeah, Morse code. Can you repeat the question, dude? I was not paying attention. I'm just like,
no, I was just commenting on the fact that it was like you know, the story that they told and kind of like painted you in this way to let people know that like, okay, this guy is going home for a reason, and it was
crafted well for the viewer.
And your partner, she was kind of painted as this person who was like going through a lot and needed this opportunity, and you screwed her over.
Yeah. Oh man, I laugh at it. It's not because like out of some sort of hatred for her. I laugh at it because people don't realize that at the end of the day, they're not seeing everything, and that the way that story is portrayed is like almost, I want to say, the complete opposite, you know what I mean, of like how it's portrayed. And I was made out to look like the villain, and you know, I set out to have like a very confident character, and be very like forward with my confidence. Like I wanted people to know, like, yo, I didn't go to fashion school. All of these designers have went to fashion school. I'm a Pakistani luxury streetwear brand owner. I did all of this myself. Like I didn't have a team. I didn't ask for handouts. Like I really did everything. So I want you to know who I am coming into this competition. And I think that the way they cut it is to make it look like, all right, here we have this
You're
cocky,
like this, yeah, like probably if you're coming in, you know, with that type of attitude, they're probably going to try to like break it down and be like, okay, well, this is, you know,
Exactly.
it makes sense for the sake of entertainment.
for the sake of entertainment, yeah. And then of course having that partner, which he has her own story of like, I have 3 kids and I'm going through it and I'm not the regular fashion person, and all of those things are true, but it just makes for the perfect like story to be like villain against angel or whatever it is. And so it's funny to me how they portrayed it, and it's even funnier to me how people don't see that and say, oh, like this show is just trying to trick me, you know what I mean? Like this is not. So when people hate comments and all these different things.
Yeah. I was saying, I saw Tan commented on your post and was like, hey, stop sending him hate comments, like kind of how it was portrayed and everything. So you were receiving a pretty big amount of backlash. And we've had SHAH-AMEER in the past explain how on the pod how when he first got his first serving of backlash that it was hard for him to deal with. Did you also deal with that behind the scenes?
Yeah, I remember like the big moment for me, because when the show had come out immediately, maybe like the same day or just a couple of hours after, I remember just people commenting hate on my pictures and on Instagram. And I was like, okay, like I expected this. This is cool. And then it just became like overwhelmingly negative responses, and there was just very few positive reinforcement. And so I remember like feeling like, oh man, like this is like, I kind of expected this, but at the same time, this kind of feels wrong to me, because I feel like, you know, I don't want to say there wasn't an equal representation of like who I was on the show, but like I definitely didn't expect it. But the thing was, when it became real was when I went on Twitter, and I'm not a Twitter guy. Like I think I created my Twitter account maybe just a few months ago, and I Googled, like, well, I searched like next in fashion and then my name, and all of these people were talking about me, you know. And I think it's different when someone talks to you directly and says like, hey, you're a horrible person, and you can kind of confront that head on. But it's different when you find people talking behind your back and you're like, but you don't even know who I am. And so I remember just scrolling, like it was surreal. I was just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and I was looking for one positive thing, and I couldn't find one positive thing. And I just kept on scrolling, and it was like pages and pages of people insulting me, calling me different things, blaming me for different things. And I remember I was alone in my room, and I just sat there like, damn, that kind of hurt. So, you know,
you can't blame them though.
Yeah, you can't. That's the thing. That's why I don't feel any sort of tenacity against them, because it's like, I don't blame you, because that's what you see, you know. It's like, you know, funny enough, after I see all the backlash against all these Netflix characters and people on TV, I have a feeling now, sympathy, because I'm like, wait, like I start to see the other side of the coins. I'm like, you don't really know Carol Baskin. You know what I mean? You don't actually know what happened. This is a TV show at the end of the day. But I remember the way I dealt with it is that I communicated with people who are close to me, who saw me for who I am. So I talked to my fiance, I talked to my mom, I talked to my dad, I talked to my brother, and they were all saying the same thing, which is like, you know, this is what you have to go through, you know what I mean? And then, funny enough, this is where my influences and like my inspirations really became apparent to me, how important they are. I look to like LeBron James, funny enough, you know, and I look to like a Drake and people who have been heavily, heavily criticized and heavily hated in the media for so long, and yet they don't take, You know what I mean? They don't like, you can see how much hate Drake gets and he just doesn't respond to it. And that's like something so interesting to me to not respond to it. It's so, in a way, it's because of Drake that I don't respond to hate comments even today. I just let them happen. And every single day, almost every single day, there's a new hate comment from Brazil, from Italy. There's people. Even still, believe it or not, even still, every day.
Do you have a relationship with Tan France at all?
No, not actually. So when he commented on my post, I was surprised. And I'm not going to say anything negative about Tan France. I know he's doing a job. He seems like a cool guy. I met him at the Netflix reunion party. We gave each other a hug. He seemed cool, but we don't actually have any
what was that
relationship.
like? So you guys met up afterwards to like see where everybody's at?
So what happened was Netflix had thrown this party in Midtown Manhattan, and they had invited all the designers and Netflix people, all this stuff, so it was really cool. But when I got in there, it was so awkward because,
Really?
oh my God, because it's not just the designers, it's like everybody who has seen the show, they're in that room. And I remember like walking through that venue and everybody was looking at me with a death stare.
Wow.
And I was like, bro, this is crazy. So like I was with my guy Charles, who's also actually on the show. He knows like the real me. He knows who I am. So he supports me heavily. But I remember people running up to him and be like, you were my favorite. We loved you, this and that. And they would look at me and say nothing. And I'd stand there just eating like a cookie. And I'd be like, oh, this kind of sucks, you know?
Did you ever feel like saying like, yo, why'd you guys put me on like that or anything? Or were you like...
Okay, so the producers, they came up to me, the people who produced the show, because we knew who they were. And they were like, oh my God, hey, we loved you on the show. And they were like, it was kind of like this awkward kind of conversation, because I was like, I know you're going to bring this up, you know, because you know the hate I've been getting. So they were like, yeah, we wanted you there on there longer. And then they asked that crazy question, what did you think of the show? You know, like, how do you feel about it?
Excuse me?
I was like, oh my God, this is my opportunity to go off. So but you know, the way I am, I'm just like a type of guy where I'm like, I appreciate.
Did you let him have it, or did you explain how you felt at all?
I did, because it gave me the opportunity, and I was like, you know, I really do. I said, the first thing I said was, I appreciate the opportunity, because at the end of the day, every single thing is an opportunity, and they had to decide that. And so I said, I appreciate the opportunity. I think the show was done really well. I love like the comedy aspect and the presentation of it all. But and they were like, and they mentioned, they were like, so we saw that you're getting a lot of backlash. And I was like, yeah, I think that the editing of how kind of things went, like it could have been portrayed a little bit better. And their reasoning was, you know, the thing is, we just didn't have enough material to show that more sides of you, because you left so early. So we didn't have.
They recorded you for hours walking around. I think they had material.
Yeah, you know, I'm in a Netflix party. I didn't want to go off. I was like,
yeah.
I love it. Cool.
Yeah.
Have fun.
You know,
At least you got to say how you felt about it too, for who it mattered. And honestly, like hearing how you explain this whole thing, you can even use the experience, even if you weren't on television getting more exposure, just being in a professional setting and seeing how things go down, using whatever you can from that experience to put back into your brand. Like you said, when it comes to lighting and production and all that type of stuff, we have come to your shows in New York and we have seen things get done so well. The only New York fashion shows I've ever been to are yours. And like, when I say that, like, I feel like I had a full New York fashion experience, I genuinely mean that. Like, it was amazing. Your designs are just so unique, and everything that you do is so different than anything else that I've ever seen, that like you stand out in itself. So I really do see this as like an opportunity for you to just grow more, and I'm so excited to see how it happens.
Dude, thank you so much, man. That means a lot. And it's so true. It's so true.
I was gonna say, what's interesting is, you know, whatever happened on Netflix, like, you know, you can say editing, this or that. We know you in real life, and like, you know, very honestly, you're one of the most humble, very like sweetest guys that like we've ever met. Like, I can say that like overall, people ever. Like, you, when we met you in Miami for the first time, like, you came up to us, you were like, you know, brown boys, let's get it. Like, you were hyping us up, and then you gave us advice that we use to this day about like certain things. But what's interesting is like even before this, the Next in Fashion was this interview that you did. And that's like those little short clips that release on Facebook and Twitter, if you guys have seen those. And it covered kind of like your come up and a little bit of your story. And even in that, there was some comments in there that it was like highlighting things like arrogance, self-entitlement, privilege. Knowing you as who you are, what do you think it is about, you know, the way that I guess you present yourself that comes off in that way?
Yeah, I think that it's really important just on a spiritual level, just as a person, to be as nice as you can to people. Like I wholeheartedly believe that. That's why like when I meet people, my first reaction is always love. You know, I'm always about like uniting people and bringing the best out in people and just helping people. I've been like that my entire life. Like I love creating emotional connections that really mean something rather than, hey, I'm just trying to excel in my life, so let me use you on in this occasion. But I think the other side that people don't necessarily see the full side of me, and this has to do with a lot of my friends, which is I have this very big primitive feeling of confidence in myself. And sometimes like one of my biggest inspirations is Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was a ruthless boxer. The man went into the ring looking to kill people, and he, even outside of the ring, he has
eating their children.
Eating their children. That's one of my favorite lines. So
yeah.
I'm in this kind of unique position where I have a lot of empathy for people, and I love people, and I want to see other people succeed, but I'm also really about moving myself forward. Like I don't play when it comes to things like this. So I think a lot of my friends or a lot of people are taken aback when they see who I am, when they meet me as a person, because they're like, here's this lovely guy and he cares about people and he's super nice, but they don't actually see that I'm vicious. Like I'm a vicious person when it comes to competition. If I play you on a basketball court, I will kill you in kindness. Like I will destroy you and tell you, hey, good game, like it was beautiful. You know what I mean? Like I'm just that type of person.
Why
so
not?
I think that on camera people get to see a peek of that side and they're like, oh, this guy's a little bit of an asshole. You know what I mean? And funny enough, I had sent you this video, FARAS, the other day, where I watched this one video and it said, do you need to be an asshole to like succeed in life? You know what I mean? Because if you think about like the biggest directors, movie directors and fashion Steve Jobs, they have these huge reputations of being terrible people, like assholes and arrogant and controlling. And there's a reason, because there has to be, I think, and I wholeheartedly believe this, in order for you to be at the top of something, you have to have some sort of tenacity in you. And people that don't understand that will misunderstand that for you being an asshole. And not necessarily.
I think the word that you used is confidence a few times.
Yeah.
And to be honest, as somebody like understanding your story where you have these designs, you believe in your designs, you have to be confident in those designs to put money into them, to put them at the price, like your price points. You believe in your product to be sold at that price. You believe in the designs that you come up with. And I think that the whole process that you have, whether it was a natural thing for you to be confident or something that you had to build over time, your whole process requires you to be confident, to put stuff out into the world, to stick with an idea and all that. So I think that the confidence isn't there for no reason and isn't necessarily a downfall. I think a huge part of the process needs and deserves the confidence that you give it.
Yeah.
But
no,
why does
100%.
it need a reason though? Like when we talk about people who are just hyping themselves up, right? Like what you're talking about, the people that you're motivated by, if you watch a video like that, I was telling you this, like you get amped up. You're like, I'm about to do this. Certain people, the way that they function is just like they need to just feel that. They're a little bit more out there with that. For example, when I'm talking to you, for example, I can say what's on my mind. I can be like, yo, I'm the dopest blank, whatever. But I can't talk that way to everybody. You know why? Because they're going to say, for us, okay, calm down, relax, because it's just like they're not ready. They're not like they'll support when they see somebody has done it not somebody who's doing it. And that's why I've always supported somebody like LeVar Ball. I love that man. I love anybody who like, and it's not for the reason that like, oh yeah, he's a troll, this or that. Like that stuff is funny, yes, but I truly believe like that type of energy, you cannot take away the fact that he got all 3 of his sons to be amazing basketball players. One of his sons is in the NBA.
100%.
Like, and then people are gonna say the next time, yeah, but not all 3 of them are there. Oh, but this one, it's like, bro, he did the unthinkable, and without that father figure there, like, I don't care what you say, like, these kids would not be who they are. And so like people don't want you to talk that way. People don't want to hear you say these things because I don't know if it's they're scared or what, but I mean, like, I personally, I just like, I don't even want to put that out there, and I'll just reserve it for people who will appreciate it, who will understand where, like, if I say that to my dad or something, you know, he would encourage something like that. He's not going to be like, oh, you're full of yourself or something like that. When I hear the phrase talk your shit, I love that phrase, because it's like when I see somebody else on that energy, I'm like, yes, they're doing something that I like low-key wish I could do at that level, like a Mike Tyson, like a Muhammad Ali, fighters in general, McGregor.
And can I just talking. Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah. Can I add something which I think is, over time, I've always been a very, I'm a very type of person where I always want to be a part of everybody. Like, I always think about when I go to like some fashion shows and there's a VIP section, you know, there's like a general population section. I'm always like, you would find me in general pop. You're not going to find me in VIP, because I want to be surrounded by the people. I don't want to be above the people in any sort of way.
Why'd you put us in the VIP section then at your show?
There was a VIP section in the show. I don't even remember. Oh, you're talking about the seating?
In the first one. Yeah.
The seating? Oh, that's not VIP. It says here it is. So it says VIP, but you know, it's more like a gimmick.
No, that was very. We felt honored, but I'm just messing with you.
You know, it made you feel good, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There, I have that same exact mask upstairs. But my whole thing is like, I think, and the thing is, learning through time, I understand that at the end of the day, I think when I get to a certain level, and this sounds like such an asshole-ish thing to say, I can't be a part of the general population at a certain point. And I think it's because there are 2 types of people in this world. This is like through my experience. There are people who get it, and there are people who don't. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with the one who gets it and who doesn't. There's not necessarily wrong. But there are 2 categories. So when we talk about like why I talk my shit no matter who it is, because the person I'm talking to, they're either going to get it or they're not. You feel me? And I'm cool with that. If you don't get it, you don't like me, that's cool. Like, do your thing. You know, I still have love for you. If you get it, I have even more love for you. You know what I mean? And that's like the way I see it, where it's like, am I allowed to curse on this podcast?
We've been cussing. It's okay.
I'm getting to the point where I do not give a fuck about what people think. And I was not this person before. I really wasn't. When I came out, I was just like this kid. I'm getting to the point I just don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care what you think of me. I don't care if you think my designs are too whack or high priced. I don't care if you think I was an asshole on Netflix. Go live your fucking life. Like, you're going to wake up and do what you've been doing, and I'm going to wake up and do what I've been doing. So have fun. Comment on my posts. Give me the hate.
I think that's
what it is.
I think as a creative, when you get older, I feel like that's slowly becoming like a thing. Like, for me especially, like, I used to care about everyone's opinions, and I wanted to make everyone happy. The older I'm getting, I'm like, I'm going to just do me, like, and what my friends do. And like, just keep your sense out of it.
And it's really good that we're privileged to have been able to see both sides of that, where like we saw without social media where people's mindsets were and stuff, and nowadays it's like there's so much validation. It's a scary amount, and like we kind of know how both of those work for like people who grew up you know, I guess like more than 15 years ago, I guess, could understand that. But it's an interesting thing. I wanted to ask you about the masks that you've been making. And I don't know if you put yourself up against people that either you have competition with, or like that you get inspiration from or whatever. But I've seen that you were giving those masks away for free,
and as a luxury brand, that's a lot.
Yeah. And then what's it called? There's a company, Profound Aesthetic, like I don't know if you want to comment on that or whatever, but I know from my viewpoint, like I saw that they were like selling them for I guess a good margin, and they showed up in GQ and all these other things. So
track.
why go for the free route, being a luxury brand versus something like that?
I think that when it comes to when the virus took its toll on the people, when it was very significant and you saw the whole world shutting down, there was retailers shutting down, fashion shows getting canceled, I think that it was one particularly on brand for us to say we always try to present ourselves in the most authentic way possible. And I've slowly come to realize that the brand is me. Because when I was starting the brand, it was kind of like abstract. It was like, I have this brand. And I think it's super important, not just for a distinction in a market, but just as what I wanted to do with the brand, to really involve myself in and my feelings and my ideals and my values in this brand. And so when I heard about this coronavirus thing, I was thinking about like people who would be affected by it, and in terms of like depression and anxiety and all these things. And I was like, the last thing you want to think about is getting something that you need at a price. And so when I thought about that, I was like, I am this luxury brand. And here's the other thing that I would just really quickly comment on. When I started off, I was like, all right, I need to have this image. Like I need to be luxury, and I need to be unattainable and this and that. And I think that has kind of left me, and it kind of stems off of that same idea of I don't give a fuck what you think. So if you think I'm luxury, then I'm luxury. If you don't, then I'm not. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what I think. You know what I mean? It sounds such an asshole thing to say, but that's true. And so when I was doing the mask, I was like, okay, I'm going to give a part of these away for free, because I really do care about people being able to attain that. And also, and just be completely transparent, it's a great marketing thing to do that. To be like, hey, we're a brand and we're giving you masks for free. And funny enough, people who bought the mask or who, copped the mask off the site for free, some of them ended up buying like a t-shirt with their order. Some of them ended up buying this and that. And I knew that was going to happen, so there's a part of me that is looking for some sort of monetary gain. I'm not going to lie to you and be like, oh shit. Like
You're
these
a business,
masks,
of course.
I have to pay my rent at the end of the month too.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
but,
not at all.
I remember like going to your fashion show and like truly experiencing something like very unique, and it really represented your brand. So like when we got there was newspapers all over the floor, and they had like 9/11 articles. Yeah. And then you had these fresh clothes, and you dipped them in red paint, and that was kind of like showing blood, and everyone's drinking blood. So and with your brand name, Mankind, it felt like the masks you made were for mankind. Like it. Yeah. That's what I got out of it. So it felt very on brand. I don't know if you intended that, but like that's what I thought, and you can go with it.
I am going to go with that. Thank you very much. My next post is going to have something for it. And it's so funny that you say that, because I feel like a lot of my subconscious is revealed through design. There's a lot of things that I can't explain sometimes, and it isn't until I have something material in front of me that I'm like, oh shit. Like this is from inside, and I didn't even notice. So that's a great point.
And the reason I bring that up is because, like, maybe I know you personally and stuff like that, so I connected the dots. But I see a lot of these companies, right? I'm not gonna name any, but like they make masks out of nowhere, right? And obviously it's a marketing thing, but like their brand has nothing to do with helping people, or whatever, and they're trying to like get their name. I mean, what's your like opinion on other companies? I guess.
And with Profound,
don't get yourself in trouble.
No, remember what I said before is I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like
the way that you were starting to say whatever you were about to say sounded like you were about to say something offensive.
I definitely was, and I'm just thinking it through so that it doesn't come off as misinterpreted. I believe Profound is a great brand. Profound was actually one of the inspirations for me coming up. They're owned by brown Pakistanis. So I was like, yo, this is dope. So I remember that was like one of the first brands I was rocking with. I was like buying their t-shirts and everything. I think they're doing a great job. They're in a lot of stores. They had a brand change in pricing and in imaging a while back that kind of flew over people's heads. And I'm watching, I love the brand itself. So I'm making sure that I'm taking notes and making sure. And the one thing I would say about not just their brand, but a lot of brands, this idea to just kind of make masks, it's cool, but I also think that it's a little bit selfish is the wrong word. That's what I would say right away.
Sellout? Like sellout-ish?
I wouldn't even take it that far. I just think it's so transparent. It's so like, I see what you're doing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And not just Profound. Forget Profound. Even the masks that they have meaningful messages on them. I would encourage people to buy them. They're cool. And they're giving a portion away to COVID relief. So that's really admirable. But I heard the other day I was talking to my cousin who's like manufacturing masks. He's talking about they're talking to Versace. Versace is making face masks. Mm-hmm. Their shit is not going to sell at $20. They're going to sell those at $85. So it's crazy to me.
That.
Yeah, if that. It's crazy to me how people have the mind to be like, we're in a crisis. Let me make something that I can create a status. Because fashion is about status. That's all it's about. At its core, it's like, who's better than who? And it's crazy to me that brands like that are still like, how can we make money on this? Like a massive amount of money.
I'll comment on it too. Like I don't know anybody over there. I like the brand too. I think like they have some really cool stuff, and even the masks I thought they were really fire.
Yeah,
I liked the look of them. But I did see that like on the post where they were saying that we made it on GQ and this magazine and whatever, somebody had commented and they were saying like my country is making $3 masks and we're like. And they said some situation where it's just like it's really tough for them in their country, and why are you selling them for this much? And the reply was something very ignorant, and it was.
I didn't see that. Dang.
And so they commented. I saw that because I was curious. I was like, oh yeah, why are they doing this? Because I like this brand. It's cool.
What was the response?
It was like, I'm not gonna make it up because I don't remember what it was, but it was something like the guy was like, are you seeing this or something? And then they had responded back something like, yeah, I saw it. And that was it. Something like that. That's not like the exact wording or anything like that, but it was something along those lines. Then later on, I saw then I was like, man, that wasn't cool. But then later on, they went back and commented like an actual response, I guess, deleted the previous comment. And whatever the conversation went on from there, but I mean, like they caught their mistake, which like that's great and everything.
I think the biggest thing is like being transparent, like not being like selling these masks for $100, whatever, and being like, oh, it's for COVID-19 relief, like it's for this. If you're selling just a mask, it's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
just sell
That's a good point. That's a great point.
Just sell the mask, But if you're
like, their tagline was like humanity is like suffering or something like that, and it's like that's a great point. That like why not just say like, hey, we have dope masks for you. You can go and get these over there for like $3, but we're selling luxury ones for people who want a stylish one.
Yep.
Transparency is a great thing. Other than that, if you want to comment real quick on like where you're going, how you hope to bounce back from this as we kind of close this out, what's going through your mind right now? And if there's nothing, then that's fine too. But
so I think that so like as I mentioned before, there were so many campaigns and ideas that we had previously set up for this year, and things are not looking too good in terms of those campaigns. But I'm a wholehearted believer in like fate. And I know things happen for a reason. Like that's like the only thing that really keeps me up, which is I know like Allah has a plan for every single one, and that plan is perfect in a way where everything that's happening to you now is happening for a reason. Even it might look bad for you, it might even look good for you, but that part of that plan. And I've experienced so many things in my life now where I can't even doubt it anymore. Like, I can't even say like, oh, but nothing has happened where it looked bad and then it was good. It's undoubtable to me. So, and even talking to my father, he's the same way. So I have so much reassurance where it's like, my mom goes, I was talking about how I'm stressed out, and she goes, Assad, you don't know that this situation might be setting up your brand to blow up after this. Who knows what's gonna happen to your company after this? It might blow up. Who knows? And I was like, damn. And I'm thinking the opposite. But with that being said, I think I'm just gonna wait until things are clear and then proceed with everything we've been trying to do, and know in my heart that this was a good thing at the end of the day. Not a good thing for the world, obviously, but a good thing in terms of like, this was either teaching me a lesson or it was giving me something that I needed. And then just quickly, like, super simple example, which is sometimes when I went to Florida, right, I didn't have an expectation to meet you guys. You know what I mean? And Romy was telling me, Romy from Ill Muslims, by the way, shout out Guru. You know what I mean? The plug, aka the man. He was telling, he was telling me, yo, come out to Florida, we'll do this and that. We have a few beautiful creatives, this and that. And I remember thinking, like, is this worth me going? Like, just going for this thing to have fun or whatever it is?
We had the same talk. Yeah. We had the same. Frost was like, yo, we should, like, are you sure we should go? And I was like, what else are we going to do?
You know what I mean? And funny enough, what happens is I go there, and even to the point where we're at the same dinner table, if I don't get up and go talk to you guys, this never happens. Yeah. We don't talk at all. Facts. And it's like the smallest thing can lead to this huge thing. So when I'm thinking about crises and things like that, I'm thinking this fabric supplier that I found that I wouldn't have found otherwise. What if this is the reason that I blow up? What if I find a single fabric swatch in here and I make a pair of pants in it eventually, and the pants go viral, and that's the cause for my success? So that's kind of like the way I see it. I kind of just trust and go on.
That's dope. And I love that, you know, you put everything aside because you're confident in yourself, not to think in a way that a lot of people, especially brown boys from our community, will think, which is a competitive level, which is like, oh, I see these guys, they're trying to do whatever, and it comes in my lane, whatever might be the case. But you were like, no, like, BBC Brown Boy Collective, like, let's get it.
BBC,
and that was so dope. It's really, I think for us too, like, it's really hard because a lot of places we go, we're seen as those, like, oh, those kids are probably, like, you know, pricks, whatever. And
I mean, we are
that.
No, I'm just
that
kidding.
might be the case, you know. I am, like, I do be trolling a lot, but like in actuality, like, having real conversations like this and like getting to know people on a real level, like, it sometimes you lose out on that because you don't take that opportunity. And for you to have like gotten up and done that, like, immediately, it was just like, wow, like, I really respect this guy, and like, I can't wait to get to know him, like, throughout this weekend. And like, you alone could have been like the entire reason that like that happened. But I mean, obviously we met other dope people, and you know, the story goes on from there. But you know, after this coronavirus thing, you made it out of that. Now this interview, you made it out of the Next in Fashion hate. This is nothing, bro. And I'm sure there's so much more to his story. If you're not following him already, Ishaq Saqib, please follow him. Follow his brand, Mercy X Mankind. It's going to be linked in the description. Thank you, bro, for joining us. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love you too.
We always appreciate this.
Thank you for bringing your unique perspective always.
Yeah.
Of course.
And thank you for everybody listening to another episode of Strange Flavors. It's been another week.
Another flavor.
A little less stranger.
We'll talk to you next time.